Hello and welcome to another episode of Trade Talks Unlocking the Experience. I'm your host, Kayla McGowan, and today I am joined by somebody very special. I'm going to lead with her title. It's going to give it away who she is, but she's the Director of Business Development and Strategy at JOC Analytics. If you haven't guessed it, it's Mandy Rewis, but I will definitely say two titles she holds near and dear to her heart are mother and wife. So without further ado, please welcome Mandy.
Thank you, Kayla, for such a warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you today and being able to just kind of have this conversation. And you're 100% dead on that. Those are two titles that I've held for the majority of my life, and very, very proud of. And I'm a mommy of five and married to a service member who's been in for almost 15 years now. So I walk, live, and breathe my family life. I also enjoy my career that I have here with JOC, and being a part of the restoration industry has definitely been it has been a journey for me, to say the least. So excited to be here and have this conversation with you today.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. I think this is long overdue. We've been trying to coordinate some things. I'm going to have you on Ask the Expert as well. But, this is all about you. This is all about Mandy. Who is Mandy? How did Mandy get into this industry? So, most people know who you are, but maybe they don't know your journey into this lovely industry. So, how did you get here?
Great, great question, Kayla. So let's say I used to work for another company, and I was with that company for 7 years. They were an answering service company by the name of Answer Force. And when I started off with them, I started off I started off with them because my husband was deployed back in 2016, and I was in the legal services. So I was a paralegal by trade, went to school, and was in that profession. And then he was deployed. Well, this is pre-pandemic, so there was no work from home. And at that time, we had four amazing children. So I had to quit my job, which for me was something that was, it was, I've always been driven by success and having my profession and being able, I love to balance things, right? Like I'm very like, okay, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I also have a career. So I thoroughly enjoy having this balance. And when he was deployed, I had to quit. So I became a housewife. And while nothing against housewives, that is being a stay-at-home mom, that is the hardest job in the world. And I was like, what did I sign up for? No, I want to go back to work. But at that point, my vision and my purpose became more clear. And I realized that while I do love to work, I needed to find something that allowed me to prioritize my family first, but still have a career on the back end. So that's how I ended up with Answer Force, because it allowed me to work from home. It allowed for me to work from home 24/7. It allowed for me to be able to create my own shifts and work around my family life, which gave me that work-life balance, which was really important at that time. Our oldest child was 9 years old. So to be able, 10 years old, to be able to have that opportunity to, prioritize my family, and still have that career was really important. And then, I held several positions at that company, but then it wasn't till 2020 that I moved into really in more aligned into the role where I'm at now, where it was, business development, more on the sales end. And um, I was leading the sales team, and we were looking at venturing into other industries. So Answer Force focused on home services, not particularly into restoration. And we branched into restoration and quickly realized that it was a different industry. The way that calls were answered for restoration is not the same as answering for an electrical company, where, yes, there may be emergency services needed, they're just very different. So To say the least. We had some growing pains spearheading into that industry, and I was chosen to help figure out how can we better align ourselves with the industry and understand what the needs of the industry were, and to be able to create an experience for our clients who were restoration to fill their need. And they chose me for the job, right? I love to pioneer. So I love to figure things out. And they were like, Mandy, we've got a problem that needs solving and we need you to figure it out. And I was like, sure. Let's what do you need me to do? And they were like, we need you to figure out restoration. I was like, restoration of what? Like, what are we restoring here? Are we restoring images? Are we
Yeah.
restoring, I didn't know. And I started digging in. So one of the ways for me to figure things out is to dig in. And completely submerged myself in the industry. I started going to events. I went to the RIA, which was my first in-person event. I did that in 2022. And then I started joining committees. I always had a franchise component that I was very close to. So I started really digging into the restoration franchise relationships that I had, and really just trying to understand what made this industry so different. How could we better assist our clients? How can we better serve our clients? With the knowledge that I was gaining. And while doing such a deep dive, I fell in love. I have I won't say it came from being a mom, let's just say that. But I do have a natural instinct to serve, to want to understand how to make things better. And when I realized that this industry also aligned with that, because it doesn't, yes, right? You're in this industry, and if you're in this industry, you're obviously money is a motivator, but at the core of it, we're all here to serve. We're all here to help restore lives, help make things better, or bring back to what once was. And when I realized that that was the core of this industry, I was sold. I was like, this is home for me, because I am working alongside people who are going into people's homes who have lost everything, some of their darkest days, and maybe even have lost family members due to the type of loss that they've had. Um, and going in and giving them that promise of hope that they will have some semblance of normalcy once again. And that really showed me that not only was this understanding, this assignment that I was given was to understand this industry, but this assignment that I was given at that time also transformed my career, transformed my trajectory in life, and transformed my mindset. So this has been an amazing journey for me. I am, 100% on board, in love with this industry because of who we serve, what we do, and how we show up each and every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is such a special industry, and like hearing your journey it's also fate. I think that's the other thing is like I know we talked about things before we started recording, like just religions and beliefs and everything, and I believe that this was fate for you, right? Just like my career and my journey was fate for me too. And it's so cool to see how it all comes together because if we would have asked you 5 years ago, where do you see yourself in the restoration industry? At that time, Mandy would have said, restoration? What the heck is restoration, right? And so I think it's really cool to kind of see how it's come full circle. And you really, personally speaking, the interactions with you, you've really embraced what we do here in this industry. You love it, and you love the role that you have at JOC, which is really cool because we've talked several times, and every time we talk, I think I learned something new about JOC or about Mandy. And so it's really cool to just kind of see who you are, how your journey in this industry started, and where it's going. I think it's a beautiful thing, to kind of just talk about full circle moments. And this one was full circle. You were given an assignment. I don't think you realized how much you were going to love the industry, and look at where it's brought you. That's so cool to see that.
Yeah.
I think you're one of those people that just are so passionate anyway. So like when we start talking about something, it's really cool to see how much you truly do embrace anything that you're talking about, which is very unique, I would say, in our space. You have to love this industry to be in this industry, right? You said it best.
Yes.
We're all here to serve in one way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. Yes, we're here to make money, but we have a servant's heart. That's just who we are
Yes.
in this industry, and we have to lead with that.
Mhm.
Because
Exactly.
sometimes, money seems hard to find, but you're still like just engulfed in everything that we're doing, which is so cool. Because you're right, we do see some people that have their darkest moments in their
Yeah.
life, whether there's loss of life or their home, or maybe,
Yes.
on the content side of things, they're just like, I just want this picture restored, right? This is the only
Yeah.
picture I have of my grandmother or whatever the case may be. So it's really cool to kind of hear your story and your background, because now you live, eat, breathe, and sleep restoration, right? Which is so cool
Yes.
to hear and see. But you're speaking at the experience, and you're speaking about something that I think you and I are pretty passionate about. But I'll let you kind of dive into that. What are you talking about, and why are you talking about it at the experience?
Exactly. Well, thanks, Kayla. Yeah, I mean, that journey is the journey that led me to JOC because of wanting to continue to serve the industry and serve it in a different way. I met JOC while figuring out how to partner, with them, with my previous company, and trying to understand, figuring out how can we help better serve our clients. And JOC was a great partner because of what they contribute to the industry and what JOC offers. We're a business intelligence tool. We sit on top of Microsoft Power BI. For those of you who aren't familiar with Microsoft Power BI, think of an Excel sheet, but on steroids, being able to pull things in much more efficiently using different data sources. And that's what Power BI is. So Power View sits on top of that. That's the name of our product. And we pull in data from any data source, so any job management software, whether you name it, any CRM. So if you're thinking about job management, you're thinking about, potentially Cotality's Dash or PSA. We are pulling information from all of those, pulling information from accounting softwares, QuickBooks, Sage, NetSuite. We're pulling information from different CRMs. So that could be HubSpot, Salesforce. So literally gathering every bit of data that, restores and or in the service industry, we have multiple data sources that we have to pull from. So being able to pull from any of those, Service Titan, whatever it is that they're using to build out dashboards, to show them the health, essentially the health of their business, and how to help their figure out where their business is and help them either make adjustments quickly and or understand what is working to replicate. So that's how I ended up with JOC, because I was like, this is awesome, right? I get to get even deeper in the weeds in the industry, to be able to help, because while I'm not on the restoration side, I'm a part of the ecosystem. And as being a part of the ecosystem, it's being able to fuel the restorers in the industry to give them the tools that they need to be more efficient at the jobs that they do each and every single day. And with that, I also realized that there's a lot of unknowns the when it comes to the value of understanding the data, what data can do for you. So in hopes to be able to help continue to um, nourish and enlighten our industry with what data can do and how powerful it is, that is the birth of my my session that I'll be doing at the experience next month. And the name of the session is Key Ingredients to Success, or ingredients to success, and how data is the secret sauce in restoration, and or the trades in general. And one of the things one of the themes, the reason why this is the theme, uh, ingredients would be the theme, is because in our industry, you have so many different things like we're talking about, right? Like so many different software, so many different things that we're looking into, and you're using them. You have this every day, and you're a successful company. You just not really may not really be sure what's in that sauce that's making me so successful. I think I know. I'm just not really sure exactly what those ingredients are. So this dives a little deeper to be able to identify what some of those key ingredients are, to be able to replicate that recipe, right? Like you've got some people that just go into the kitchen and they just throw whatever they want into the pot and boom, it tastes amazing. But the fact is if you put them back in the kitchen a month later and ask them to make that same recipe, it's going to be slightly different, right? Or it might fall on its head altogether because it's not written out. It's not something that is something that they're following, that can be passed down, that can be transferred, that creates success over and over and over. Then you have people who go in the kitchen and they have their recipes and they do their measurements. And guess what? Chances are every single time that recipe is going to give them the same outcome each and every time. So, what the hope says is to give everyone that recipe. And it includes a little bit of gut feeling, right? But it's also going to include what it is that they should be focusing on. Like, what are their cycle times? What are, which are also time frames? What do those look like? Can they get any better? Which chances are they can. If they get better, what else can that improve? And also being able to identify what to look for when they're spearheading or trying to spearhead more into sales and marketing efforts. What key metrics should they be paying attention to while looking at these things? So I don't want to go too much into it because I hope anyone that's going to the experience, please come to the session, because those are a lot of the things that we're going to be diving into. And in addition to that, also being able to give everyone a hands-on activity to make their own trail mix, which will be ingredients to their own uh little snack during that session. But I'm very excited for it because as this industry continues to grow and evolve, data is going to become more of the forefront of what drives our industry more and more to success, more and more to creating standards. So just being able to give everyone a little bit of, hey, these are some of the things that if you replicate it, if you are aware of them in your business, they can help you create continued success, not just one time, but help you make it over and over and over. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool to kind of talk about data too, right? We all talk about data, but what does it really mean? What is it showing? What story is it telling? I personally have had the opportunity to sit in with Mandy and Kenny and get a demo, and just the amount of layers that are in what you would think is like the basic data is wild, right? And I think understanding that takes time, and she's going to show you some of the things that you should be looking at, which I think is extremely important because Mandy and I have talked a lot about data, and one of the questions I always have asked her is like, what's a P&L? How does somebody, read a P&L? Like, And if you ask anybody in our industry, chances are you're going to get different answers. Not saying they're all right or wrong, but you're going to just, and this is so much deeper than that, which I want people to understand. Like, you're looking at, you said, cycle times and just like who has success with TPAs. Like, there's just so
Yeah.
much in this data that will help you set your business up for success, not just for a year, not 5 years, but it's an opportunity to kind of look at your own history and like maybe patterns that you see. So I would definitely say if you are in the realm of trying to understand your data or maybe trying to start to explore, like, hey, what does the data tell me? This is a session you should really sit in on because, to Mandy's point, data is going to be a priority. It already is, but moving forward, I think with seasons changing, you know, seasonality of things, right? Like we saw fires in January. No one would have predicted the fires in January, right? We've seen catastrophic flooding, which is not unusual for the flooding, but maybe the places it's hit. I mean, Tennessee just flooded last week. I think Milwaukee was as
Yes.
well. And so
Milwaukee is flooding.
right. And so places that we don't really see things happening, if you're able to look at your data, maybe you can help and pick up those projects that are happening elsewhere, maybe outside of your geographical area. But I will stop because Mandy and I like to talk about data. I like to ask her questions. I like to ask Kenny questions as well. And I think this is the time to actually go sit in, learn, but also ask questions because that's what this is all about. It's about understanding the industry and maybe some of your pain points. JOC is always rolling out things. So if you have a pain point, that would be your time to kind of share that and see what they can, help you with. But, I think we've talked about Mandy, we've talked about your session. But one question I do have is, you have a love for this industry and it's a very unique love, I will definitely say. What has made you just so passionate about this industry and like the service side of things? I know your husband is in the trade world as well, and he's,
Mhm.
he has a background in service just in general, and mentioned his deployment. I think that may have something to do with it, but why are you so passionate and why do you love this industry so much? And those of you who met Mandy, you'll probably know where I'm coming from on this because she's been in the industry for almost 10 years now. But the love she has reminds me of someone who's been in the industry for 20, 30 plus years. So where does that stem from for you?
Really, Kayla, I it's my babies. I mean, if we're being 100, it's my babies. It is showing them that for me, if you're going to do something in life, do something you love. Be passionate about the things that you do in this life. Because if it's going to take me away from my family, which I travel quite a bit. If you've seen me, that's chances are, it's because, I am doing what I love. And I want them to be able to see that if you go at something, go at it 100%. Don't give partial, go at it 100%. Be the difference you want to see, be the change that you want to see. And because I am a passionate person and I've now thrown that passion into this industry, I'm going to give it 100%. And I want them to see it because whatever they decide to do, whether that's being in the trades, whether that's going to college, whether that's becoming an astronaut, whatever they want to do, I want them to know that do it and do it at 100%. Show up every single day with who you are, being authentic and loving what you do. This life is way too short to just give 10%, right? Give it your all. And there's so many options to do. What I set out to do when I finished school 20 plus years ago is not what I'm doing at all today. And that's 100% okay because I love what I'm doing today. And that's why I show up and show out every single time. I am at a show, I'm doing a webinar, I am present wherever I am because this is where I want to be. And this is what I love doing. And this is the industry I love serving. And I want my kids to see that. I want them to be able to take that. It may be restoration that they decide they want to give their passion and love. I've got five of them. One of them might decide that this is the industry that they want to go into. But the whole point is being rooted and true to themselves and loving what they do every single day. So I'm in it. I'm here to stay in it, and I'm passionate, and I want that passion to transcend.
Yeah, and I would definitely say you lead by example, right? And you're doing a really great job. For those of you who have been lucky enough to meet Mandy's kids at some of these shows, they, I think, help level up our skills a little bit as well. I've had the opportunity to meet two of Mandy's lovely children, and they are young, polished individuals, and they are not afraid to go out there and ask questions, which I see where they get it from, right, Mom? And so it's really cool to see that. And I think at the end of the day, our why is generally our family, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, we spend a lot of time in the field, whether it's traveling or doing webinars or doing something like this. When our kids see this, it maybe that trickle of hope or glimmer that they needed that's like, oh, I can go do whatever I want to do, right? And so I think it's really cool to see that. And, I expected nothing less of an answer from you, honestly, because we do talk about our kids quite a bit. And it's really cool just to be able to humanize ourselves just a little bit. And for those of you that didn't know, Mandy mentioned this before, but she's a mom to five beautiful babies, and they're all so growing up so fast, and they're all so well put together. They're great. I've only met two of her babies, but I know all of them are just as great. And she takes her time from her home to help make our industry better, and that is a very selfless thing of Mandy to do. So I'm very thankful to have you in our industry and be able to share the stage with you, and you speak at the experience, because I think you show you can balance personal life and your professional life and still do great at both and be
Yeah.
present in both of those like key roles that you hold. And it's great to see that. So, I know most of us are passionate, but I really wanted to hear why Mandy's so passionate, because I haven't known her, but maybe almost a year we were just talking about this. And just the amount of knowledge and love that you have is definitely something that I admire. And I know most of the industry does. Most people know who you are. And that's something that, for your kids to look back and see, man, my mom gave it 100%. I can do at least that and give 100%. So I have
Exactly.
one last burning question for you. We've learned a lot about Mandy. We've learned a lot about your journey, JOC, what you're talking about. But what is something that most people may not know, like a fun fact about you, that you'd like to share that maybe catch people off guard or by surprise?
Um, let's see. There's a few. Uh, One fun fact, I like to jump out of planes.
Oh my gosh. Not me. Could not be me, but I could totally see
Do.
that.
I do. I love skydiving. Um, it initially started because of my fear of heights.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm the type of person, go big or go home, right? So if I'm like, how am I going to conquer this fear? Well, go jump out of a plane. Right?
Seems like the
It's one
logical thing to do.
it's one of the fastest ways to get rid of a fear. And I will say that I'm no longer afraid of heights, but it is the most freeing experience I've ever had, is to know that you are literally dropping towards the earth, but something will catch you. So it's also builds on something that I'm also really passionate about, which is faith. Faith that you can fall, but you'll be caught before you hit the ground. You'll still make it down safely. But that is something that I absolutely love doing. I love going skydiving. It is the scariest, most exhilarating experience. And when I've gone, my babies, my whole family, my husband, the kids are all on the ground on the beach waiting for me to come down. So that's just like everything else in life. for
That's
me.
so cool and so beautiful to hear that. Like, couldn't be me, but, maybe in, a couple of years, I might be able to look back and say, "Hey, Mandy, you were right." Like, it's just perfectly good plane, jump out. I don't know, not a recipe for me, but I think that that's really cool that you actually pushed yourself to your limits, right? To help try and conquer something, and you conquered it yourself. Your mind is a very powerful thing,
Yes.
and most times when you're faced with adversity or obstacles, you're the one that's going to drive your success. And
Right.
you found a passion. You think it's a fun thing to do. It's exhilarating. I would definitely say it's probably one of the most peaceful things, if I can imagine. Like, it's just silent up there, right? It's just you're looking
Yeah.
at the world from a different lens, which I think it also reminds you that the little things in life are really
Yes.
important. Stop
Mhm.
and take a second. So I think that there's probably a lot that you think of when you're going through that moment.
Your
Like,
whole life.
yeah, like yeah. So I would definitely say that's such a cool thing to learn about you because I mean, honestly, I would have never guessed that if I'm being quite honest. That's a new fun fact for me too. I had no idea that Mandy was someone who loved to skydive. And I think it's really cool because again, you've shown your children and your family really and the next generation or whoever's watching this that you can conquer things that are scary. Maybe it's a fear, but mind over matter is such a real thing. And
Yes, it
to your
is.
point, religion plays a huge role in that as well, because obviously you would not have done that if you wouldn't have had your own beliefs in place. Because it's like, yeah, what if I don't make it down, but I think that's just kind of how life is, right? You have to take the chances, and you
Mhm.
beat a fear. Like most people
Yes.
probably can't say that they just were like, you know what, I'm gonna try and face this fear by just doing the ultimate crazy thing,
Yeah.
jump out of a plane, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a good fun fact. That caught me off guard, not gonna lie.
Well, I'll also say this, it's not even about it doing it that one time, because every time I go to do it or think about doing it, the fear is still there. I'm like, "Oh," but I'm like, "You know what? I did it one time." What it does is it creates that pattern. Well, I did it once. That means that I can do it again and again. So, I mean, I don't know, it's not an endorsement for anybody else to go and jump out of planes, but what I will say is that if you have a fear, know that conquering it one time may not be enough to get it. It might be a lifelong thing of conquering these fears, but just know that if you did it one time, you can do it. It can be replicated. You can do it again.
Well said. I would definitely say that is very well said. The first time's usually the hardest, right? Of
Yeah,
overcoming whatever it is, pushing yourself to your limits. But to your point, if you've done it once, you can do it again. And if you lead
exactly.
with that mentality, really, you're unstoppable at that point, right? And I also think that that's why our industry has been so successful because there's been several people who are like, wait, watch me. We'll be able to do this. And I think you
Mhm.
lead by example, so thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. That's a vulnerable thing to share, right? Like I was scared of heights, but hey, I jumped out of a plane. Again, humanizing ourselves is so important in the things that we do because Mandy and I were talking about this earlier, is like we see each other for the professional sides of ourselves, right? That's usually what we see each other at. That's the biggest capacity.
Yes.
Fortunately for me, I've actually had dinner with Mandy, right? And I got to meet and have dinner with her son when we were at Violand and actually met several people at dinner. And we kind of talked about our personal lives, which is refreshing. We had that moment to kind of unplug, which is great to be able to have
Awesome.
that.
Yes.
So if anything you got out of this was like, hey, reminder, please take a second to humanize yourself. It's very important in everything that we do.
Yes.
Because yes, we're professional, but we also need to humanize who we are and what we do and our why. But that's all I have today. Mandy, do you have any closing words before we sign off?
No, I am all set, Kayla. Thank you so much for having me today.
You are very welcome. And as always, if you want to listen to this or watch this or any other episodes, you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, social, our website, Apple. And of course, we will see you here in a couple weeks at the experience. Don't forget to go tune in to Mandy's session. And as always, we will see you on the next episode of Trade Talks Unlocking the Experience. Take care.